This is a good one. You should really watch up to the end.
Yes, my question to the doctor. I heard you repeating many times, you saying he's a creator about Jesus. Peace and blessing be upon him, because we Muslims believe in Jesus, the mighty prophet of God. I heard you many times you saying he's the creator of everything and all things. So I want you to explain to me, if it's possible, if he's a creator of everything, when Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, was he walking by the fig tree with his companion, the fig tree with his companion, and he wants to eat some fig, and they told him, Master, the fig is not in season. So if he was God, how he don't know if he create the tree? How he know? He doesn't know if what's in season or what not in season. If he create everything,
Okay.
and if the fig was not in season and he's God, first of all, we don't accept God to be hungry. He wants to eat, but you Christian, you said God choose to do so, so that's your faith. But I'm saying, even if he was God and fig is not in season, why he couldn't order the tree to bring fig?
Okay,
Isn't
thank
that
you.
God the one create everything?
Okay, thank you.
To the
Dr. White?
He did so because the fig tree represented the people of Israel, and he made the application the people of Israel look like they have fruit, but they do not. It was a clear application that he made. Secondly, he did eat food because the Word became flesh. He became hungry. He became tired. Because as the New Testament, as it was written, clearly indicates, Jesus Christ was the God-man. The eternal Logos became flesh and dwelt among us. He was a true man. He ate food. He became tired. He slept. He grew, etc., etc. Christians have always believed that. Why? Because we believe all the New Testament teaches.
This is why you shouldn't invite missionaries for debates, because in their brain, this is what's going on. Tough question. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Believe it or not, the missionary's answer is actually worse than my stunt performance over there. And for those of you still wondering, yes, that was me. So why did he need to dodge the question? Let's find out. Let's review the passages that we are considering here, since nobody in the last clip actually looked at the passages. So this story can be found in Mark chapter 11. Let's review it using the English Standard Version. At the start of chapter 11, the triumphal entry, Jesus is at the outskirts of Jerusalem, near the towns of Bethphage and Bethany, at the mountains of Olives. Jesus orders two of his disciples to get him a young horse from one of these towns. The two disciples go and get a horse. Later in the passage, Jesus enters Jerusalem with his disciples. He looks around. It was late and there was nobody at the temple, so he goes back with his 12 disciples to Bethany. I'm going to show you how the missionary misled the brother by reading the verses word for word. On the following day, they came to Bethany. He was hungry, and seeing in the distance a fig tree in leaf, he went to see if he could find anything on it. When he came to it, he found nothing but leaves, for it was not the season for figs. And he said to it, May no one ever eat fruit from you again. And his disciples heard it. When Jesus arrives in Jerusalem, he karate chops all the money changers in the temple and drives them out. The first thing we need to find out is this story real? And Christians would say, yes, this story is real. And to prove that it happened, just go to verse 20, where the disciples see the withered fig tree, and Peter comments, Dude, there's the fig tree you cursed yesterday. Also, it is clear from verse 14 that the disciples did hear a curse. This problematic text reads just like the verses previous and the verses after it. In fact, it is part of the context of Jesus heading to Jerusalem. So why would you insinuate that this is an application of fig tree as being representative of the nation of Israel or the people of Israel? Well, it's simple. The God of Israel is an all-knowing God, and here Jesus shows his frailty. If Jesus was 100% man and 100% God, he would know that 1. The fig trees were not in season, and 2. That there were no fig trees on the tree to eat. And anyway, why would Jesus or God curse an innocent tree which obeys the natural law set out by God anyway? To debunk the Christian missionary in this video, all I have to do is just show you the verses, which I have done, and there is not one instance where Jesus makes an application here. The missionary reads his own application into the verse. Now let's see what more intelligent Christians have to say about this issue. Some Christians will tell you that this passage of the fig tree cursing incident has a metaphorical nature as well as a realistic nature, and some will tell you it just has a metaphorical nature. Well, we've already debunked the latter, so let's consider the former. Fig trees are somewhat common in the Mediterranean area, and in the Old Testament, Israel is likened to a fig tree in Jeremiah chapter 8 verse 13. Not all instances where fig trees are mentioned in the Old Testament refer to the children of Israel. Sometimes the Lord of Israel, for example in Deuteronomy 8:8, describes the vegetation in the land where the children of Israel will reside in, and he describes it as having olives, vines, as well as fig trees. So not all cases where the fig tree is mentioned refers to the children of Israel. Sometimes it's just a tree in a geographic location. The Christian who proposes the metaphorical and real nature of this story suggests that the fig tree promises much, but in the end doesn't deliver, like the religious establishment who promise much but don't actually deliver much to the people. Surprisingly, they will try and convince you that this passage sets the context for the karate chopping Jesus at the temple, where he basically overturns the tables of the money changers. Another school of thought in the Christian side suggests that the Israelites are being compared to the fig tree by Jesus here, to his disciples, for if the Israelites did not accept Jesus, then they shall not attain salvation. Let's have a look at the verses in their context again. Jesus comes the night before. There's no one there, so he returns back to Bethany for some reason. He comes back the day afterwards. The journey is some way away. He gets hungry. And an irrational person seeks food when they are hungry. He sees a fig tree. He may have forgotten that figs are not in season, because when you are hungry, you basically need a source of nourishment. So you might try your luck. He goes and sees that there are no figs in the tree. He gets frustrated and he curses the fig tree. At no time did Jesus make the application that the fig tree represents the children of Israel. In fact, the verse explicitly makes it clear that he is hungry and he's trying to find food. Again, the tree is innocent in all of this. The tree is following the natural order set out by God himself. It gets worse because we have the human side of Jesus with the emotion of hunger dictating what the God side of Jesus has to do with regards to the cursing of the tree. Now let's give the benefit of the doubt to those who say this is both a metaphor and a real event. Let's look at the Gospel of Matthew, where this account is also betrayed. Comparing Mark and Matthew, we see discrepancies in this story. Both stories have a common denominator, and this is Jesus telling the disciples if they have faith, they can move mountains. In Matthew, Jesus enters the city and everybody is staring at him, and they are saying, "This is Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth." He goes into the temple and he does his little karate chopping act where he overturns the tables and causes chaos, basically kicking out the money changers. According to Matthew, quoting the English Standard Version, "And leaving them, he went out of the city to Bethany and lodged there." It makes it explicit that Jesus leaves after causing the chaos. So Jesus goes to Bethany, stays overnight, and then leaves Bethany in the next morning back to Jerusalem, where he curses the tree on the way to Jerusalem. Notice the discrepancies when you compare it to Mark. In Mark, Jesus comes the night before, no one's there, he goes to Bethany, stays overnight, then leaves Bethany. On the way to Jerusalem, he curses the tree and he enters Jerusalem. Notice that in Mark's account, there is no people staring and saying, "Jesus, the prophet from Nazareth." He drives out the money changers from the temple with the karate chopping act again, and then leaves Jerusalem, where he gives the mountain speech. Even if that's not a contradiction, which it is, let's see how fast the tree withered. According to Matthew, the tree withering was an instantaneous event, by the fact that it says the tree withered at once, and the fact that the disciples were marveled because it showed Jesus' power apparently. One has to ask the question, why would Mark omit the instantaneous withering of the tree? Why is it in the next day, when the disciples are walking by the tree again along with Jesus, Peter has to point out at the tree and say, "Look, Rabbi, the tree you cursed yesterday has withered," suggesting that the tree withered overnight and it was not instantaneous. So, next time you go to a missionary to ask this question, point out all these facts and ask for evidence. Ask for evidence. This is very, very important.